one. What's happening, YouTube? You inherit the original two Black Avengers of current culture. It's Lamont, it's Larry. Larry, how was your weekend?
Man, it was good. It was all right. Hung out, watched some TV, did as people do on quarantine. Nothing.
Sometimes nothing is good. Sometimes nothing is the best way to go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a full show tonight. And if this is your first time finding my channel, please subscribe. Check out my podcast. I put these live recordings on the podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Larry's channel. He's got a great channel. Y'all know how crazy he can get. He's a little worse than me. Today in pop culture, we've got to talk about the dead icons of R&B. We've got to cover them. We've also got the remedy to this murder hornets thing that Larry put me on to last week. I've got a remedy for y'all. Princeton had his first Black valedictorian in 274 years. We got to discuss that. And we got to talk about who won, Jill Scott or Erykah Badu. Then we get the movies. We're going to review, without spoiling it, The Last Dance, Michael Jordan. And
can we do that? Can we do it without spoiling it?
Well, I mean, everybody's already done seen what happened anyway. So in essence, the whole thing is a spoiler. You know, the man won 6 titles.
That is true. We do know how it turns out. So
you know how it turns out. Then we've got a trailer review for a show that comes on Stars called let me see what it was. High Town. Looks really, really good. We're going to review it. In Marvel news, we know who the villain is in Black Panther 2. We got you covered. And in financial news today, I'm going to give you my top stop pick for today. And can you really get into real estate without money down, without good credit? Buy back the block. We're going to discuss that. Last but not least, Trump is flaming mad with California. Larry, let's go on ahead and jump on into it, baby. We lost a couple of icons this weekend, and we'll start with them first. Let's go ahead and just kind of discuss what these individuals meant to you and me. I'll go ahead and put the graphic up. Here we go. There you see Betty Wright, Little Richard, and Andre Harrell. We lost them over the weekend. Betty Wright was 66 years old. She lived in Miami. Andre Harrell was 59. He died of heart complications. Little Richard was 87 years old. He died from complications with cancer. Most people renown him as the king of rock and roll. Elvis modeled after him. Yeah, the architect. Prince modeled after him. Betty Wright was famous for her love ballads. She also was in a big lawsuit with Color Me Bad because her song was Sex You Up. And you remember they done that song. And Andre Harrell is famous for bringing in people like Puff Daddy and other greats. What are your memories of these individuals, my man Larry?
Man, I've met Andre Harrell a few times back in the day because, I used to work in the hip hop industry, shooting the music industry, specifically in hip hop as a photographer. And I used to work for the Source magazine and a number of labels. And so I've run into him a few times, and he was always a cool dude. He was one of those people that when he walked into the room, everybody knew he was in the room because of who he was, but he was always super cool. I never really had any feeling about like he was any, like he would try big time people or anything. He always just seemed like a real chill dude. Little Richard, what I thought was real interesting when he passed away this week was I saw some folks that were talking about how, he used to go in and out of his whole thing about wanting to be, effeminate, and he became a preacher and put all that stuff aside. But he said that there was an interview I saw of him online where he was saying that back in the day, when he didn't want to perform that way, they didn't want to let him on stage. They didn't want to put him on TV or let him go on stage. They wanted him to be effeminate and wear the lashes and the makeup and act gay, because then they felt like it was safe for the little white girls to want to scream and yell for him and dance with them. But if he was up there as a black dude, just a regular straight black dude, they were afraid to have him up there like these white girls were going to want this black man. Either way, they still wanted him, but they wanted him to be gay. They wanted him to be effeminate. And this is the stuff that I've been talking about you know, for a long time is that Hollywood and the entertainment industry in general has a tendency to want to put Black people in what is often considered a negative light, whether that be making people appear to be something that they're not, being gay, or they want to destroy their families and the image of our families by only putting Black people with white people or other folks, or having us alone, or showing us as the angry Black woman, or the thuggish criminal Black man, or the hypersexual person. They've done this stuff and they still do it. I wish people would continue to recognize it and stop just thinking that every time you see it now that to bring it up is somehow race baiting. It's not. It's just calling it out for what it is. But that's what that is something interesting that I learned about Little Richard just this week, was that he did not want to perform that way after a while, but at sometimes he was forced in order to make a living for himself to project that image out there. And you know, the other singer, I didn't really know much about her except for her lawsuit with Color Me Bad, which is unfortunate, but I didn't really know much about her, so I can't really speak much on her.
She had timeless classics, man. She's inspired so many women. She inspired Jill Scott. They loved her. What was that one chick name? I mean, some of your neo soul women were inspired by Betty Wright. And from everything I read about her, the reason why she was so beloved was because she was the one that would take people under her wing, and she did mentoring, and she didn't charge anything. And Brandy even mentioned how when she was getting her career started, Betty Wright took her underneath her wing and showed up at some of her early concerts when she was the undercard. And that kind of motivated her. Anita Baker talked about her. So this woman was just absolutely beloved. And to everyone in this group, I just want to say, to your family, I wish you well. Thoughts and prayers as usual. And as you heal, I just wish for you the speediest recovery as possible. We will miss these great icons of music, R&B, rock and roll, and all their contributions that they've done to society.
Yeah, there's a lot of celebs that seem like they're dying right about now. I mean, you know, some of them are dying for, you know, some of them from heart attacks, and other ones are natural causes. I don't know about how many of them are dying from COVID. I think some of it may have to do with the fact that people are locked up inside and they're not getting the same level of physical and mental stimulation they used to. And some people's will to live simply just sort of dwindles. But, you know, like they were saying just this past week, I guess, Roy, I can't remember his last name. The one of the two dudes that did
Stickford and Roy.
Yeah, he died.
Both of them dead now.
Huh?
Both of them dead now.
Yeah, and then just I guess it was just yesterday. What's his name? Ben Stiller's father died. Was it Richard Stiller? Was it?
Richard Stiller.
Stiller. He just passed away. He's a dude from Seinfeld show, and Everyone Loves Raymond. So. Yeah, I mean, celebs are they seem to be dropping quick right about now.
Getting up out of here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the big versus battle. Erykah Badu versus my girl Jill Scott. And I got a clip for you, DJ.
Now, who do you think took it? I didn't actually see it, so I'm curious. What do you? Well, show the clip and then let me know who you thought.
So you really want to know who took it? You want to know who took it?
Erykah Badu.
Who's that smiling face you see on the screen right there? Who's that smiling face you see on the screen right there? Let me cover you up. Let me cover you up.
No, buddy. No.
In all honesty, man, I mean, I wouldn't even say there's a real winner. Both of these women came extremely prepared. Their music was good. The only thing I didn't like was they really wasn't doing all the singing for their tracks. They might jump in and sing a small verse, but basically it was just them going back hit for hit, song for song, and a couple of songs that you might not have heard in the mainstream that they done in their live shows. Overall, if I was the type of person that smoked weed, I would have wanted to light up a big spliff, get me a stiff drink, and just blow my mind out. That's what I felt when I saw these two women. It was just a chill thing, man. I enjoyed both of them. They had great dialogue back and forth. it was definitely something to see. And I think they have set a new standard for doing these Instagram versus battles.
You know, it's interesting. These are something, I mean, I don't know how much they were doing these, people were doing these before, if they had done any of these before, because I never heard people doing these battles back and forth until this quarantine thing. So I don't know if this is something that people, maybe some of the younger folks were doing, and then, you know, as older folks started learning about once the quarantine hit. But if it's not, if this is something that's new, that's come out of this pandemic, it's going to be interesting to see if they continue to do this, because people are having a lot of fun watching them. You know,
this would be a great way to, you know, hype up a live concert or performance or something like that. And now DMX is throwing heavy darts at Jigga, but I don't see Jigga stooping. I'm not trying to say Jigga. Yes, I am. Jigga is in a more elevated plane than DMX, but DMX keeps calling Jigga out. Is he going to do it? I doubt it. I don't see Jigga doing it. What you think?
See, this is what I thought about that when I heard he was calling out Jay-Z, right?
Right.
Is that I think if you're talking about, as you know, just life in general, is Jay-Z on a different level, maybe because he has all his businesses, he has his family, he's been in a better headspace in general and than DMX. But music-wise, DMX is a friggin' beast. I mean, dude's got a catalog. He has a catalog. If you're going back and forth with them, I almost would rather, like some people have said maybe it's better to see like Jay-Z and Nas, but I think I'd rather see DMX and Jay-Z go back and forth. I think that would be more fun than Nas. I'd rather see Nas and Kanye West go back and forth.
I want to see a rapper that is most rappers' favorite rappers, Talib Kweli, battle somebody. Because
I want to see Talib go up against Mos Def.
Yeah, let's get that. Or
let's get that.
Let's get that going. You know what I mean? So, but that the battle was good. That was the winner was everybody that watched, ladies and gentlemen. Jill Scott did her thing. Erykah Badu did her thing. Her little background with like Bruce Lee fighting, that was a little out there, but I mean, that's who Erykah is. She's way out there.
She is out there.
Somewhere. Yeah, but I mean, it still worked and it was all good. Before we move on to the next subject, let me shout out my man, Mike Willie, who has just did a super chat, ladies and gentlemen, $19. And you know, when we get super chats, we got to give you a clip. So for today, Mike Willie, this is how I feel about you.
I represent the rent is too damn high party. Playing a silly game, it's not going to happen. The rent too damn high movement. The people I'm here to represent can't afford to pay their rent. Listen, someone's stomach, child's stomach just growled. Did you hear it? Rent is too damn high.
Yes, the rent is too damn high, and Mike Willie has contributed to making sure that rent gets lower. And Mike Willie, we appreciate you. Anybody that super chats, you know we got graphics for you, and we know we try to do the things we can to look out. So Larry, the next story I got in the pop culture industry for you is you brought this to my attention. We're having an infestation of this thing from China called the murder hornet. It is mean, it is big, it is bad, it's nasty, and it's taking over the West Coast. But I have found for you, Larry, something that can get rid of the murder hornet naturally. Take a look. Larry, the murder hornet is no match for the praying mantis that has
my mantis style.
Yes, it has a mantis style for the brains of the murder hornet. Is it a good idea to go ahead and start stocking up on the praying mantis if you live on the West Coast, Larry? I give it to you.
I mean, they might as well just go ahead and start releasing them. I mean, as long as they're not out there just tearing people's crops up, just go ahead wherever they find those murder hornets, just start releasing some praying mantis and let them go to work. Because I would not want to get stung by one of those bad boys. They said that getting stung by a murder hornet feels like someone is injecting hot molten metal into your skin. That's just whew.
And the sad thing is that praying mantis in that battle, the hornet stung him like 5 times, and homeboy just would not let go. And when the murder hornet got tired, he started munching on his head, eating his brains.
Yeah. Man, that mantis, that thing was like the Walking Dead. He was like, "Give me your brains.
Give it to me, little piece of crap." He tore a new hole in that murder hornet. So, ladies and gentlemen, when people come at you and be like they scared of murder hornets, tell them you learn right here on this channel the remedy to soften up a murder hornet.
That's right.
Last pop culture story we got for you guys is a good one. Princeton has been around for well over like 200, almost 300 years. And for the first time in their 274-year history, they've got a black valedictorian. Take a look.
Princeton naming its first black valedictorian in the school's more than 270-year history. Nicholas Johnson is a Canadian student majoring in operations research and financial engineering. He called the honor empowering, saying he hopes to inspire young black students to pursue careers in STEM fields. Johnson plans to begin studying for his PhD at MIT this fall.
Larry, for those that don't understand why we as African American are constantly having to uplift when we do things of excellence. Give the people a reason, my Anglos out there that don't really understand. Explain to them why when we hear these type of stories of this gentleman and what he's done, why we have to uplift these stories to the masses.
Yeah, because it's so important. It's so important for folks to understand. For, you know, people often say that it's so that you have to put it out there so the young people can know that it's possible for them, which is true. We do need to put that out there so the young people can understand that it's possible for them. But we also need to put it out there so that the older people can recognize that it is possible for the younger people. Because so many times you hear about people thinking that places like Princeton and Harvard and Yale are too big, that it's not possible to get there, or the likelihood is so minute that you shouldn't bother. You should look for something smaller. And that's not the case. You should reach for as high and as big as you possibly can. And let's say you reach for Princeton and you don't get it and you have to settle for Cornell or Brown. Guess what? You're going to friggin' Cornell or Brown. I mean, so you should always reach for what you want. And I think that's fantastic. My wife is a Princeton Tiger. You know, she went there for undergrad. So I'm really excited to hear that they finally have a black valedictorian. I think that's really incredible. It's a shame it took so long, but you know, these old institutions are really, really set in their ways. I mean, you're still talking about places that have eating clubs and you know, they didn't even have, I mean, when my wife went there, you know, there hadn't been black students for a very long time. There hadn't been black students for a long time at all. But, you know, before they let black students in, they didn't even let women in. So there was, you know, Princeton was an all white, all male school for a long time, for, you know, 150 plus years. And then they started to let other people in. So to finally get a black valedictorian is really something special.
For me, I never paid attention to the valedictorian or the person that comes second, the salutatorian. I never paid attention to either one of them until I got with my wife. She was the valedictorian for her high school. Anytime I saw these terms, I've only saw Anglo-Saxons. And it just seemed like that was the norm, you know, and meeting her and understanding how brilliant she is. And, you know, she went on to be a doctor. It made me start looking at that as something, okay, we can obtain this too. This is not just something where, you know, only they win. If you do what you got to do as an African American and overcome the other barriers that they put in front of you on top of the standard barriers that everyone has to cross, this is definitely something you can achieve. So when I saw this story, it just made me think about her. It did make me think about your wife. I remember you saying she went to Princeton. So I knew this would make you smile as well. And we always have to remind people that for as much ridiculous stuff happens in the world, there are always good stories still happening, but they don't always get highlighted and I wanted to make sure that we highlight this one. This brother is educated, he's in tech, and he wants people to know that we should be focusing on STEM because that's driving the future, literally.
Right. And you know another really impressive black person who went to Princeton is?
What's
Michelle
that?
Obama.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. Mrs. O went to Princeton.
That's right. And now, ladies and gentlemen, after getting all the pop culture stuff, we move on to TV movie reviews that we talked about, we seen this weekend. But first, my man Buzz over here, he wants to get a little bit of that super chat. Big Buzz. Let me see, which one am I going to give for him today? Which one to make him laugh? I give you this.
So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they raping everybody out here.
Hide them all.
Everybody, what I want you not to do is hide your wallet, hide your PayPal, or hide your super chat, because I need all the baby funds I can get up in here, because baby L is coming. So super chat at your leisure. So Larry,
there you go.
The review that I'm going to cover for you that happened is The Last Dance Michael Jordan documentary, episode 7 and 8. And I'm going to give you a cover while I discussed it. So mainly these two just kind of covered what Michael Jordan went through when his father died, how that really put a bad spot on his life. His dad was like his best friend. His dad seen all his basketball games. It literally kind of helped push Jordan into taking that retirement he took for a couple of years to play baseball. But what we didn't know was that Michael Jordan was pretty talented in baseball after he worked himself into the way he had to play baseball and work out. And if it wasn't for baseball going to their backup players, Michael Jordan would have went major league. Michael Jordan told Major League Baseball, I refuse to play with the backup players in the major leagues. So
because they had a strike, and he was saying, nope, I'm not crossing the picket line.
He was like, nope, Shoal ain't doing it. Long story short, even though with all the pain he went through with his dad, he was never really quite the same. He comes back to the NBA, wears number 45 because initially he didn't want to wear the jersey that his dad last seen him in, which was 23. And that year they got their butts beat by young Shaquille O'Neal, Anthony Hardaway, Nick Anderson, Horace Grant. They got beat in that first round. And you know what Michael Jordan said? Let us retool. Let me get back in shape. And damn it, I'm putting on that 23 again.
Well, they shouldn't have pissed him off, because somebody made a comment saying 45 isn't 23. And why did you say that?
Because they wanted a butt cutting. They wanted a butt cutting. And he came back and gave it to him. And in the first round, the very next year in 96, they played Charlotte. And by that point in time, B.J. Armstrong was with Charlotte. And B.J. Armstrong had a game where he went off and he talked junk to Jordan. He talked junk to the bench. Why did he do that when you know how Michael Jordan is? After that, he put foots all up in B.J.
You know?
And the rest of the team just putting foots in him, putting mitts on him, putting paws on him. Anything that was moving, that was on the end of his body, he put it in him. All right. Let me talk about this about Scottie Pippen too. While Jordan was gone, they had this big to-do moment where Scottie Pippen was trying to establish himself as the man, and they went and got Tony Kukoc, who was a great shooter.
Right. They had a good clutch shooter.
Very clutch shooter. And they had a game in the playoffs where Scottie Pippen refused to go back into the game because he's like, I've been waiting for Jordan to go, I'm the man. Phil Jackson drew up the play for Tony Kukoc to shoot the shot. And Scottie was like, hell to the no, I'm the man. I'm not coming back in the game. And he didn't. He pouted like a little girl and didn't come back in the game. And guess what happened? Tony Kukoc hit the shot.
Yeah.
And after that, they went into the locker room, and Cartwright and a couple of other guys got on Scottie, said he quit on the team, blah, blah, blah. The only bone that I have to pick with that, if that would have been Michael Jordan and the same thing would have happened, would anybody got in his face? Probably not. Would it have been drawn up for him? Maybe, maybe not. But I can guarantee you Jordan could have pouted and got away with it. I said all that to say that when Jordan came back in a scrimmage, They was going at each other really, really hard, Steve Kerr and Jordan. Steve Kerr wound up punching Jordan in the chest and was just playing just tremendous tough defense on him. And eventually it got to the point where Jordan just hauled off and socked Steve Kerr right in the eyeball. But that's not where it ends at. Jordan, being this guy who was at the apex, he's the apex predator, was bullying anyone that seemed weak on the team. And the question I have for you, Larry, and the audience, nowadays we frown on bullying. But what a lot of people are saying is that style of leadership is what got them those 6 championships. Could anybody tolerate that type of bullying nowadays? Because they say he picked on Scotty Burrell so bad, he was calling him a bitch-ass whore every day, and Scotty Burrell would just basically take it.
Yeah. I mean, some people are different. Burrell, see, I think some people earn Jordan's respect in different ways. Like Kerr said he earned his respect because he said he didn't take it. He ended up fighting back and standing up for himself. And he said after he had that confrontation with him where he punched him and Jordan punched him back, he said after that, Jordan apologized. He said he was embarrassed. He picked on the smallest dude on his team. But Burrell stood up to him in a different way by basically saying, I'm mentally stronger than you. I'm mentally stronger than your BS. You cannot break me. You cannot make me come out of pocket and act in a way that is out of character for me. And so I think even though he didn't punch him or he didn't do anything to Jordan in that same way that, say, Kerr did, he still earned his respect because he maintained his character and still played and was still great. So I think it's just different ways. And I think that's one of those things that Jordan just really had to test people. And, I think the people that he surrounded himself with, I mean, Pippen, obviously he respected Pippen. Pippen was a great player. He respected, Rodman, because Rodman was a beast. Rodman was probably more of a raw and hard-working athlete than Jordan was. I think Rodman probably has the most extreme work ethic of anybody that's probably been in the league forever, maybe. I mean, the dude was a maniac. I don't know what he's like now, but the dude was a maniac. And so, I think that style of leadership, I think today it might not go over quite as well because you have so many of these young guys that come out today that have been coddled and babied and they've grown up with their participation trophies. And, so I'm not sure because like even you look today, the game's not nearly as physical as it is today. I mean,
right. Back then you had to be old school tough, What I'm saying? Talk about that old man strength. You had to be old school tough back then. And ain't too many of this new generation old school tough. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, now, they had rules back then. They were playground rules in a lot of ways. If you're not bleeding, it's not a foul. Nowadays, dudes blow on you. Oh, that's a foul. That's a foul.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And then
I'll tell you what I thought was really interesting was when when he was filming what was that movie he was in with Bugs Bunny?
Space Jam.
Space Jam, right.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll do the movie, but I need a training facility so I can work out. And they showed some video where all the top players were coming in from around the league, and they were basically having pickup games on this TV studios lot where they set up a facility for them. And you had all the top guys. You had Reggie Miller and Penny Hardaway man. Yeah, all these dudes were showing up, and Jordan was saying, yeah, these were rough games. There were no referees. You got in there. If you got fouled, there was no one to call a foul,
Pretty much. And the last point I want to make, man, was when they get to the 1996 NBA Finals and they're playing the Seattle Supersonics, which they had high-flying Sean Kemp, man, that dude was rough, and you had the self-proclaimed Glove, who had won Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So the coach didn't want him on Michael Jordan a whole lot, and he went in there and he got in the coach's butt and said, "Coach, put me on him." And the game that they put him on Jordan, they won, and Gary Payton started running his mouth. Now, if y'all don't know anything about Gary Payton, behind the scenes, when they start going down the list of the top 5 trash-talking people ever in the league, Gary Payton is on that list. So he swore up and down. He said some things and got all up in Jordan. And then Jordan came right back, kicked his ass, and Jordan was talking junk to him, saying, "You ain't a glove. You nothing but a 5-year-old mitt. Go pick up your ball, you little bitch." Stuff like that Jordan was saying. Jordan called my man a mitten, not the glove, a mitten. And so he basically in the documentary didn't tell everything he said, but basically like he couldn't do nothing with me. He was too little.
But you know what was great about that? Because people talked about they showed him in the documentary. They handed Jordan that iPad and showed him what Payton has said. And it's funny because Jordan's reaction was, I don't have anything bad to say about him. I don't have anything bad to say about the glove. He was like, yeah, he's the glove. I don't have anything, because he knew that Payton D'd his ass up. He did. He D'd him up. I mean, if anybody was able to stuff Jordan, because you had games like they showed when they showed in the series when you had teams building their entire defense around stopping Jordan, like they did in Detroit, where they would double and triple team him. But then you put Payton on him, and he can go one-on-one with Jordan and stop him. I don't think anybody else was able to really do that much. So,
Larry,
I thought that was about as much humility as Jordan was able to muster to say, "I don't have anything bad to say about the glove."
Everybody get one game, and then you had that one guy from the Bullets who had a good game against Michael Jordan. Then Michael Jordan came back and scored. That guy scored the whole game in the first half.
Yeah.
So, everybody gets one game, Larry. Men play 10 times. You might beat me once or twice, too. You know what I'm saying? Everybody get a game, Larry. Dad. You know?
He said, well, no, but Payton was, but look, man, the glove was something else. They came back from what? From a 3-0 deficit and took him into a game 7, I think it was.
Yeah.
You know?
And still lost.
Well, they still lost, yeah, but
and still got that. And a lot of it honestly wasn't on Gary Payton, because I remember the series. Sean Kemp got missing a little bit. He couldn't deal with the antics of Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was putting his finger in his butt crack, grabbing his balls. It was a mess, man. But at the end of the day, Jordan was the king. And if you guys have not seen that, me and Larry highly recommend it.
And the great thing about Rodman, when he would get in people's head, they said Rodman he would grab your butt, he would tickle your fingers and play with you, do all kinds of weird, freaky stuff with you. And you might get mad, but you can't just decide, I'm going to haul off and hit Rodman, because Rodman is a physical specimen. You swing on Rodman, you might just get yourself knocked out. Rodman ain't play. He ain't play. I don't know if you remember that time that Rodman and Barkley got into it. And Barkley, he's a huge dude. He thought he was just going to manhandle him, and Rodman was so freaking strong.
Man, Rodman got into it with Barkley. He got into it with the mailman. He got into it with Shaq. He was just missing a couple of wires up there, man. He ain't care. He was like, man, what y'all going to do to me? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. Now, moving right along past that, ladies and gentlemen, we have a review for a TV show coming on Starz. It's called Hightown. We're going to check out the trailer. Me and Larry have big hopes for this, especially for my Power people, because I have yet to get y'all all back, because all y'all want to watch is Power. But we're trying to find something else to satisfy the appetite. Let's take a look at Hightown.
Here we go.
Larry, Hightown. Let me give you the background information, because I know you want it. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer. We believe in him for sure. It stars Monica Raymond, Atkins Edmond, Riley Volker, Shane Harper, and the story is about a Marine Fisher officer who gets caught up in drama, caught up in a drug scandal, caught up in a sex scandal as this dead body washes ashore. It's going to take you through high tides, high crimes and misdemeanor, all within a menagerie of a story. Larry, what do you think? Is this going to be a new hit for Starz or what?
I think it is, man. This show looks like it has everything that it needs to really just take off. It's got all that excitement you want. It's got the thriller part of it. It's got a good-looking lead woman. It looks like it's going to be a winner. I'm excited for it. I like that. I think what was her name again? Monica Raymond or something like that.
Yeah, Monica Raymond.
Yeah, she used to be on Chicago Fire.
Right,
man.
right.
I mean, I'm looking forward to this one. It should be fun. And, you know, I know some people aren't into that whole drug culture. And so there may be some people that are a little turned off by that. But I think that's sort of one of those things that runs as sort of an undercurrent throughout the Northeast and in New England, is that drug culture is so much. I mean, drug use up there is just so prevalent. There's people up there just using all kinds of opiates and everything else. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this plays out. So it should be a fun show.
It comes out this Sunday, May 17th. I'm going to try to do reviews of the first couple of episodes just to see how you guys respond, see how the YouTube community responds. I'm looking forward to it. There are a lot of good things on top of this I'm looking forward to that are coming out as well. And I usually do my reviews for at least the first 3 or 4 just to see how people respond to it. If we get enough views, me and Larry can be doing some Monday night live streams to talk about that during we do our movie and TV segment, because Larry's going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. I think it's going to be good, and I think you guys should give it a try if you still got the Stars app.
Yeah, and if you don't, they have some specials right now that you can get. I think they have a special where you can get like 6 months for $25 or something like that. So
it's unreal the special they're doing, man. I mean, that one is one, and Stars has got it where you can get a whole year for like $45 or something to that degree.
Yeah. So I mean, if you don't have it, get it. You know?
Exactly. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen. And now we move to Marvel news. I've got Black Panther 2 updates for you. Me and Larry know who the villain is going to be. Chadwick Boseman is going to come back. But first, before we dive into how we know, let me give you guys the clip from a past movie that was the first inkling of who was going to be the villain in Black Panther 2. DJ, roll that track.
Reading on those tremors?
It was a mild subduction under the African plate.
Do we have a visual? How are we handling it?
Nat, it's an earthquake under the ocean. We handle it by not handling
it. So what we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, is different people who have worked on the movie basically are telling you that Namor is going to be the villain in Black Panther 2. That was a lead up we've seen in the beginning. This right here where they're focusing in on the map was another lead. And this is Kevin Feige discussing it before Black Panther dropped. And as you can see right there under that second section, it talked about Namor being the villain. And in terms of Chadwick Boseman, this is just a showing of him when he was practicing for Black Panther. Him losing weight is not a big deal. I mean, my man is already tiny. I mean, dude could afford to eat 25 different Oreos and still wouldn't be any bigger than me or Larry. So the rumors about him not coming back, they're just rumors. He's not a big guy in the first place. And the way that they're going to probably introduce Namor and why they're talking about the earthquake underwater, that basically was happening around the time after the Thanos snap. That's the reason for that earthquake. And so the issue with Wakanda in the first place is they're an isolationist nation. They don't believe in getting in anybody's affairs. They don't believe in helping anybody. They don't want to help anybody. So what they're rumoring the plot is going to be is that Namor is going to come attack Wakanda because they didn't come help him during the snap. He didn't know what the hell was going on. People were getting the hell up out of the ocean left and right, and no Wakanda in sight to help. So he's going to rage war on Wakanda out of fury from the snap. Larry, are you excited for Namor versus Black Panther, one of the most iconic storylines in comics? And by the way, Namor technically is the first mutant for Marvel. He came out before the X-Men did.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So let me ask, I have to ask everyone, if you were about to go to war, if you were in Wakanda and you were about to go to war, who do you want as your leader? Do you want T'Challa or do you want the rightful ruler of Wakanda, Killmonger?
Here this
That's
guy
all
go,
I'm saying.
man. This guy won't let
That's
it
all
go.
I'm saying.
Let it go, man.
The rightful ruler who is a straight up beast, or do you want this little thin, I can't decide if I'm in love or not in love, little T'Challa dude getting thrown over waterfalls? Come on, man.
Man. And Larry, and what happened to Killmonger's ass in the second fight?
Man, Black Panther cheated anyway.
How did he cheat?
He cheated because he was talking about, come on, let's finish this. Let's finish this challenge. Well, the challenge isn't supposed to be fought when you have the power of the Black Panther. You're supposed to fight it as regular humans. He cheated again.
How did he cheat when Killmonger had the powers of the Black Panther when he came back? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a T-Stream sighting. We have a T-Stream sighting.
What's going on, man?
In the house.
Sorry, man, I'm a little tardy. My son got off work a little early today, so I had to go. I had to actually pick him up at 9, and I didn't know till 9.
Hey, you good, brother? We just basically talking about. We know who the villain is going to be in Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman is coming back to play Black Panther, and Larry's over here trying to fool the people into thinking Killmonger is really the king of Wakanda. If Killmonger was the real king, Namor would really come and whip their ass for real, because in the comics he can't stand Killmonger. I say he can't stand him. He can't stand him, and Killmonger really wouldn't have went down there to help him. It would have been ugly. But T-Streams, tell us what you think about Namor being the villain in Black Panther and our boy coming back.
Man, well, I tell you first thing, I think Marvel and Disney did a very wise job by bringing Chadwick back. Had they not, me personally, I probably would have lost all interest in the film like I once had it. But I'm glad to see that he's coming back. Namor as the villain, I think it'll add a twist. I want to see how they flip it, and I'm sure they'll make it interesting. Who are they saying actually playing him?
They haven't said. No, but this particular movie is still one of the only movies that is still stayed to its schedule. It's coming out May 2022.
Okay. Well, I would hope so. You know, that's a little bit. I told you they didn't push some of these movies so far back, like 2021 not going to make it or something. I don't know.
I just hope whoever plays Namor is a big dude. Don't make him some little tiny dude they try and bulk up. Just make him a big dude.
Yeah,
forget it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that they have to get right. If they're gonna use him, they have to have somebody that's that can pull the character off pretty good.
I would rather you get an Asian Pacific looking dude who fits the character than to go get someone as big as The Rock or something like that. I would just rather see that, because either way, I've got complete confidence in Ryan Coogler to do this movie. Complete.
The Rock wouldn't actually be bad for that role. I mean, as frustrated as I get by him not playing black characters sometimes.
Well, you know what?
Good one for him.
I don't know if I don't think they can do that, because The Rock is trying to be Black Adam, who kind of resembles the depictions of Namor a little bit, but we'll just have to see about that.
Yeah, right.
So, but that's it. So T-Streams, you come on the section where we're about to discuss money. Can you really get real estate with no money, no credit? And what is that term called? But before we get to that, I want to talk about my top stock pick for today. And my first person who downloaded the Robinhood app to get in the giveaway is our girl, oops, wrong slide, DJ Dad, fix yourself, is my girl right here, Denise Jackson, who is watching us live right now. She is the first person that got the app and downloaded it. As you see, Robinhood, it keeps a record of who downloads the app from my invites, and she's the only one so far. But I also want to read this to you guys. This is someone who caught my video when I did it in 2017 for Robinhood. He's saying, been using Robinhood app since you first introduced it back in the day, and I've been doing good. I said, thanks, my friend. What'd you get? He got a bunch of shares of weed stock that I put him on to back then, the weed pharmacies and Miracle Grow and Scott's Lawn, because they was producing fertilizer. And he said he's made some money on it. And my stock tip for today is this little gem right here, Moderna. And as you can see, The reason why this makes my stock tip for today is simply because this is the leading company coming up with a vaccine for coronavirus. And in the last week, if you see that little green arrow right there, they have gone up precipitously. Look at the percent. They've gone up 27.9% in a week. And as of today, they're still going up. You guys get you some Moderna. That's our stock pick for the day.
Right. All right, I'm gonna check that one out.
Check it out, man.
Now I need to check out this Robinhood. I haven't actually used it, so I'm kind of curious to see how it works. So I may watch your video, but I might just call you up and just get like that personal one-on-one tutorial.
Hey man, do what you gotta do, man. I'll hook you up. But here's my creed to anybody buying individual stocks. Always leverage your individual stocks with either ETFs, index funds, or treasury bonds. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify. All right. So in terms of real estate, I'm getting ready to give y'all a piece of information that Cat's been charging $2,000 and $3,000 to go to a meeting to get. All right. I've got a link to my full video where I did this whole process, and I caught the homeowner on the phone by mistake. If you see the look on my face in that video, I was like, oh, shoot, I thought it was going to go to the voicemail. But basically, and I'll show you a home that I've done this system with. Basically, getting started in real estate with no money, no credit, whatever, it's called wholesaling. And what do? You ride around, you find a home that looks like this, that looks underloved, undercared for, and you look up the information of the individual in your county's tax department. Once you get that information, you send them a little letter that says, I'm blankety blank with blankety blank. I have interest in your home. Are you willing to sell? And they're either going to get back with you or they're not. 8 times out of 10, they're not going to get back with you on the first try. Never happens. It took me 2 letters to get to this lady before I even got her. And then once you get them, once you get the individual, what you do is you put them on what you're going to be doing, a contract, and you're going to be trying to sell that piece of paper to an investor. What happens is you would give the lady like $100 to $200 to take the home off the market, go through an inspection period that lasts anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. And while you're doing that inspection period, you're also looking for someone to buy the home. And if someone buys the home, you take the piece of paper and the contract, you give it to them, and you make the difference on whatever you put as a selling price on the home. In essence, you just become a broker. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how you do real estate with no money, real estate with no credit. Now, is it easy? No. I just told you. And you get success, maybe a ratio of maybe 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10 tries with people. And right now, in the next couple of months, this is going to be a real hot thing to do because a lot of people are not going to be able to survive this coronavirus thing.
Yeah.
Good places to look for properties like this usually are on the outskirts of the hood because those properties are usually passed down through generations, and those people don't want to take care of those properties at all. And so they'll literally let you come in, put a contract on a home, and all you're doing then is connecting that contract to someone who is willing to buy the home and fix it up, and then you just basically getting paid a finder's fee. So some of y'all might be asking, well, what if I can't find someone to push the contract to? Then you just go back and tell the person you're trying to, you put the contract on for the home, I couldn't find anyone in my resource debt for financing, contract tear up, you off the hook. Simple as that. Again, it sounds simple in theory, but it is very hard. Number one, finding the person who owns a home like that. Then number two, having the courage to get on the phone with them and say, you know, I need to come see the home first. I need to check out some things before I can offer you a price on it. Then you've got to connect yourself with someone who has the resources to buy the home in a window of about 2 to 3 weeks. My advice to anyone who's thinking about making this something to do, before you even get involved with this, go to your local investor meetings and figure out who are the investors that are actually buying properties and not wholesaling. That's what I did. You go to any Google and you put in your county and put in RIA meeting. So Google, for example, for me, Guilford County REIA, which stands for Real Estate Investors Group, something, something, something. You go to their meetings, listen to them, see what they're talking about, and figure out who are the people that have cash money and are buying these homes. Then you go find you one, market to them. They'll buy it off your hands. You walk away with $5,000 to $6,000 to $10,000, and all you did was push paper. And that's what I did with that particular home.
Wow.
And people will charge you $4,000, $2,000, and $3,000 for what I just told you. Now, if you want copies of the contract that I use, the phishing letter I use, check my video that is in the video description that says Real Estate No Money. Check it out, see what I did, and then hit me up on either my Instagram page or the Life Gains Facebook page if you want a copy of that, or if you want to see my real estate investing business plan. Fellas, any questions?
Sounds pretty interesting, man. I remember back in my early entrepreneur days, man, like in the early, like maybe 94, 95, somewhere around there, I used to, man, I never had any luck with it, but I used to try the William J. McCorkle and the Carlton Sheets. You know, I don't know if you ever seen them on the infomercial.
I heard of rip-off sheets. I know about them dudes all too well because they tried to get me too.
Yeah. And so, and I actually went to a Than Merrill workshop here.
He's another rip-off artist, man. Lord have mercy. Do not go to the second level, T-String. Do not give them money to go to the second level.
Yeah. And so, so, you know, you know, for the person that has the ability to finesse that, you know, like, you know, because it's going to require some finessing when you're trying to get somebody up out of their house and stuff like that. You know, for the person that has to get the gab and the ability to do that, you know, is. Or you could either come to Detroit and buy one of these houses for $1,000. They're giving a lot of them out for $1, but you got to have some in your pocket to fix them up.
Hey, and you can help them with fixing them up, can't you, if they got enough money?
Yeah. I do run a construction company.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I was actually thinking about going down there to Detroit to buy one of those properties because I watched a program a while back where there was a collective of artists that went over in the neighborhood and they bought basically like a whole block, and they started fixing all of them up, and then they bought like a couple of others like sort of houses that were in the surrounding areas that sort of created like a little square where they basically was all just artists, and so they were trying to get people to come in. And part of the thing that was they would come in, they would say, hey, if you come in, we will actually give you a house. The other artists and other people that are here will help you fix it up. But as part of the thing is for doing this is you actually have to live in the house for a period of time, and you have to agree to share whatever your art is. Because it was sort of they were sort of creating like this sort of inner city art community, and they were saying you have to share whatever it is you do, whether it's painting or sculpture or photography or music, whatever. You have to share that with the local kids and the local community. So anyways, it seemed like it was a really cool thing they were doing. And, you know, but when I saw that, I realized, geez, there's houses out there you can get for next to nothing. And I saw that, yes, you can buy a house for a couple $100 or $1,000, or some of them, like they said, you can get them for just paying the taxes that are owed on them and then take it over and fix it. So,
yeah, that's what happened to my sister 2 years ago. She was able to buy one for $1. And then they gave her 6 months. They gave her 6 months to pay off like a $4,500 tax lien to it. And the crazy thing about it went into tax lien right in the middle of a rehab. So the guys who had owned it had already come in and painted it, fixed the drywall and all that other kind of stuff. And she was just, I mean, put new furniture and everything in it, and she lucked up. You know, she lucked up on that, and I'm like, and that's what sort of got me like, okay, maybe I can do it, you know. But yeah, it's a lot of that going on here. The only problem is, man, the stars is really making it hard because they come down here, or they send their teams and they buying 100, 1,000 houses at a time, and running contracts with Home Depot, and you know, and the local contractors. And so, you know, so they buying all the houses, fix them up, rent them out, and, you know, leaving and stuff like that. But I'm sure you got some good deals, you know, everywhere. But concerning what Lamont was talking about, you know, if you had that gift of gab and you can work that, I would definitely be interested in hearing how you guys' success be with it. Somebody will try it.
Give it a try. Like I said, that was one I did, and I feel like I got lucky. That was my third one, and I got a phone call off of my first letter with that particular lady. So, I mean, I feel like I got lucky with it, and it went just the way I said it went. But oftentimes, like I said, when you go to these pep rallies where these guys be trying to hit you in the head for a lot of money, that's what they're going to wind up telling you. Stay away from them, y'all. You can get a whole lot of this real estate info from your brother here who has been doing it for a long time, and it has been successful for me. I've done residential, I've done commercial. You know, there's a video me and my wife are kissing each other because we made a couple of nice six-figure chunk on commercial childcare that we renovated, fixed, held, leased for a couple of years, got the depreciation out of it, and then we sold it after we fixed it up and bought it well below market value. So, I mean, it's there, but you just kind of got to be careful. And we've learned so many things from doing it the wrong way in the beginning that I just kept a nice long record of it, man. And anytime y'all got real estate questions, man, feel free to hit a brother up. And hey, I might be coming to Detroit trying to get me one or two of them properties if me and T Strings can work out a deal, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm a capitalist, you know what I'm saying? And we can work out a deal. So, moving right along to the last subject, but before we get there, let me shout out my man, Howard McQuarters. You know you get an emoji con too, brother. I appreciate you. And let me see what we're going to give you here. Let's see here.
Big Howard.
Let's see here. This one's funny.
It's my team. It's my quarterback.
That's for all you crybaby Cowboy fans out there. That's for all y'all.
Every time I see it, I'll be like,
oh, man.
For everybody that's stuck with us through all the real information you need, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to Larry's channel. Be sure to check out Taylor Todd on his Facebook link. All that is in the video description, and download the podcast. I put those up usually about noon the next day. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we're getting closer and closer.
Lamont just shared my government name.
See, damn it, man. Damn it. Yeah. Look, you know what?
He's about to put your social security number up there next.
I'm gonna have to use my man. I'm gonna have to use his old stripper name. What was your stripper name back in the day?
Oh man, you trying to get me into
Okay, never mind.
Said I was gonna be able to find a picture, but that was oh man. That was funny.
We'll refer to my guy as T Strings from now on. But when you get in my description link, when you link to his Facebook, it ain't gonna say that. So I mean, hey, it is what
we're gonna see T Strings with a construction hat and some chaps on.
Hey man, whatever makes him that money, man, let him do it.
He's sexy.
Let it right. T shake it. I don't care what you call it. As long as he get the money,
get those ends.
Let him get those ends. So with us getting closer to the election, y'all's president, Donald J. Trump, got extremely upset with Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. Why did he get mad? Because Gavin Newsom had just signed a state executive order for state mail-in voting. Take a listen to what Trump had to say about this type of behavior going on.
But do you think every state in this country should be prepared for mail-in voting?
No, because I think a lot of people cheat with mail-in voting. I think people should vote with ID, voter ID. I think voter ID is very important. And the reason they don't want voter ID is because they intend to cheat. When you get something, when you buy something, you look at your cards and credit cards and different cards. You have your picture on many of them, not all of them, but on many of them. You should have a picture on your for voting. It should be called voter ID. They should have that. And it shouldn't be mail-in, excuse me, it shouldn't be mail-in voting. It should be you go to a booth and you proudly display yourself. You don't send it in the mail where people pick up all sorts of bad things can happen by the time they sign that, if they sign that, by the time it gets in and is tabulated. No, it shouldn't be mailed in. You should vote at the booth.
Okay. Now, before I give it to you guys to beat them up, let me give you some more context to what has happened since then. Since this moment.
Can I interject right quick?
It
doesn't matter what context you give. We're still going to beat them up. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, hey, anyway, since all that has been said and this has come down, this guy has done something that politicians haven't done in 48 years. He put someone as postmaster general. No one has appointed a postmaster general since Nixon. From George Washington to Nixon, postmaster general used to be a position in the cabinet. And now I feel like the only reason Trump is doing this because he's talking about cheating. I feel like this postmaster general is going to be throwing sand in the gears. But to add more insult to injury, fellas, this is a place where everyone needs to unite. The person he put as postmaster general is from right here in Greensboro, North Carolina. His name is Louis DeJoy. And in the last 4 years, this businessman, and this is what he looks like, has donated to the Republican Party in the last 4 years from Greensboro, North Carolina. And I thought I knew everybody. $2 billion in 4 years he's donated to the GOP. This is nepotism at its finest. This is buying a job. This is crooked as hell right in front of the American people's face. And the only reason you're appointing this guy is because you want something crooked to happen with the mail-in votes. Because you know if everybody's able to vote, Republicans will never, ever hold seats anywhere. Fellas, I'm going to give it to you first, T-Strings, because you wasn't here to go through everything. But what do you think about this latest move by your president?
Man, I'm going to tell you what. Nothing seems to surprise me. And I think this is his attempt to try to stay ahead of the curve. But it's pretty much like every other thing he's probably done tried. It's just gonna show his true colors. You know, to me it's a faulty move. I mean, you have this press conference, and then I'm not sure which one actually happened first or which happened after or second or whatnot, but either or, they were both in close proximity. So you have one, and then next thing you know, this other come around. It just seems fishy. It seems like you trying to set the stage for something.
So the press conference, that particular press conference was like 2 months ago.
Okay.
Him coming out against Gavin Newsom was a day ago. Him appointing the guy from Greensboro to be the postmaster general was last Thursday.
Yeah. So you know, he's trying to play his cards, but he's really playing a rogue game, and I don't see how anybody cannot see it. You know, even if it was 2 months apart or 2 weeks apart, 2 days apart. You know, if you know, he talks about IDs and all this other kind of stuff. It really don't make no difference because they already, in a sense, have something set up similar with absentee ballots. So it really don't even make no difference on what he's saying, you know, because if the absentee ballots is good, you know, then there seems like there would be no problem with making a few other changes to accommodate, you know, things for situations like this when there is a crisis or something like that going on throughout the land that can impact voter turnout. And so this where it goes back to the good old boys politics system. And so things are more so concerned about politics and the red tape behind politics than what's actually, what actually matters with the American people, and being able to carry out their constitutional rights. And so, I'll just be glad when it's all over, because this every day is, look, every day is something different with this guy. And to keep, every time I hear something, it just burns me up inside, and then it turns me to this old proverbial angry black man, because damn, every day I'm getting angry because I always hear something stupid that this dude that said or did that really don't make no sense. And then when you hear him talk, he really not making no sense. I'm like, do we ever listen to his advisors?
No.
So
if he did that, if he done that, he wouldn't be showing strong masculine leadership.
Yeah, I guess that's what they say it is.
Larry, get in there, man. I know this has been your second favorite president behind Richard Nixon. So
I am not a crook.
I am not a crook.
Oh man!
So tell us why your second favorite president is really just not wanting everybody to be a part of the voting system.
Man, this dude is just off the rails. I mean, we have known for the longest time that the Republicans and conservatives in general are constantly trying to limit the number of people that can vote, because they know for a fact that there are far more moderate and liberal voters, which happen to be in the Democratic Party right now, than there are conservative voters, which are in the Republican Party. So we know they know that if the conditions are set for a high voter turnout, they are going to lose across the board. They're going to lose Senate seats, they're going to lose House seats, and they're likely going to lose, the White House. And on top of that, they're going to lose all those other, even further down the ballot races, all those state houses, all those local judgeships, all the local mayors, all the local politics. All that stuff is going to affect them. If you have higher voter turnout, a lot of those people are going to lose as well. So, but the fact of the matter is that you should encourage people to go out and vote. You should run on your record. The problem is that his record is absolute and utter garbage. He has had policies that are nothing short of just blatant racism. We now are looking at like 20% unemployment. We have a pandemic response that, that our last decent president said, which was, Barack just came out and was recorded in a phone call just, I believe it was just over the weekend. It said that the White House pandemic response was a chaotic disaster, and he knows this. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. I mean, they're talking about opening up the country and letting people go back to work. They can't even secure the White House from the coronavirus. You have people in the West Wing that are sick. And so the idea that we should go put ourselves at risk so we can vote when we already have the infrastructure set up that we can vote from home and do it securely like people have done when they've done absentee ballots. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to be against that. Just as an American, it doesn't make any sense that you want to put your fellow Americans at risk. And as a leader of our government, the government's all government's primary function is to secure the safety of its citizenry. And when you're not doing that, you're failing. You're derelict in your duties as the leader of our government.
But he's been derelict in those duties since day one. Not only has he been derelicting, he's been dividing, and individuals will try to tell you that that's not what he's doing. He's been dividing based on lines of selfish greed. That's number one. And he hasn't done anything that has been beneficial to the greater number of the American people, unless that benefit is for him and the people like him. Is the only time there's been a benefit for a number of American people. Like in the last coronavirus relief bill, they slid some more tax cuts up in there for the rich people. You didn't hear nothing about it. Well, I'm sure you three probably heard, because y'all in business like I am, but the average person didn't know that they slid some more tax breaks up in there. And they're discussing doing another one where they're going to try to reduce payroll taxes. Man, And all the while, the people that are getting hurt the most are poor African Americans.
This is one of the crazy things about this, right? Is that we have this huge deficit in this country. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to go. They're talking about going out and borrowing $3 trillion. $3 trillion. I don't think people understand what a ridiculous amount of money that is. And the crazy thing is, these economists that have come out and said one of the reasons why we have these crazy deficits and we don't have the money is because we keep giving the rich these tax breaks. We keep giving corporations and the wealthy these ridiculous tax breaks, and they need to just pay their fair share of taxes.
Well, I mean, Larry, at this point, it's not even fair share. At this point, you have to pay for the heavy lifting and sins of your forefathers for fucking up capitalism and making it crony. You are the ones with the wealth. They can't go after the money from people that don't have it. It's eroding to the point where it's almost about to be you're either top class poor or you're bottom class rich. There's not about to be a middle class,
right?
You know, and it keeps getting eroded each and every year. We see this crony ass nepotism that you're seeing with this president.
And the crazy thing about it is rich people are always complaining about, oh, well, there's all these social services. We shouldn't have welfare. We shouldn't have, you know, food stamps and SNAP. They're always complaining about these social programs for people that are you know, that are bad, hard off, and poor. And the reality of it is the vast majority of our social services go towards the rich, the wealthy, and the vast majority of our government operates to serve the rich and the wealthy and the powerful and the connected. I mean, in large part, we could probably cut our State Department in half if we did not need all the services that we use to try and service American business overseas. You know, the wars that we enter into are often so that we can secure trading routes or oil or making sure that certain markets remain open. These are things that we do to protect American business. These are things that we do to protect the rich, not the average everyday dude, not the average everyday woman.
Not to mention, Larry,
millionaires and billionaires.
Not to mention that the budget, people, when you start talking about the budget, because a lot of people who don't go and diversify the information they get from multiple platforms, most of them only listen to that right-wing talking point. They all think that the majority of all the money that's leaving this country is going toward social programs. The biggest drag on the budget for the United States is the military. And God forbid you don't want to cut your precious military no more now, do you?
Social programs. I mean, we have so many programs within the military that are not needed, that you literally have people in the Joint Chiefs saying, we don't need this new tank. We don't need this new airplane. Don't build this. We don't need it. Stop the development. We don't need to spend, you know, $55 billion on this stuff. We don't need to spend $145 million on research. We don't need to spend, you know, $22 million or $150 million on this specialized plane. We have enough. We don't need it. It's there's no need for it. Stop doing it. But they keep doing it because they want to keep giving money to their friends who have these big ass, military contracts. And it's just a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Mm-hmm. T-Streams, get the last word on this one, baby. You came in last, you get the last word.
Man, look, blow all that stuff up. How do we, the question really becomes, how do we, if we can, even formulate a strategic plan to fix this? Of course, is primary thing one is getting the right people in office. But how do we actually take, we can't sustain as a government constantly borrowing all of this money. Mm-hmm. The value of our dollar is going to plummet if they keep going into the basement and printing it like it's counterfeit, So how do we actually take this and turn this around? And, you know, when I sit here and listen, this is what my mind is tinkering with. I'm like, well, damn, they're giving all this money out. They're trying to give more out. They are giving tremendous tax breaks. They gave stimulus to a whole bunch of companies. Some of them, after they were busted, tried to save face and give some of it back, which, and you didn't already took it, you know what I'm saying? And wouldn't have gave none of that back had it not come up to the limelight. But I tell you this, I think, man, if we don't resolve this, situation, it really doesn't matter who the next president is, and it probably may not matter who the next 2 or 3 presidents is, because some of the damages that is being put into place is deep enough that could severely hurt probably an entire generation if they are not careful. And our grandkids' kids will be paying the price for some, mismanagement of things that's going on in 2020. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it gives you a whole different insight, because right now everybody want their bread, and rightly so. But, the decisions that they're making is not pulling us up out of here. Mm-hmm. There's nothing Donald Trump can do today. Granted, he was given another 4 more years to bring everything back around. I don't think that it's within his capacity of time, even if he was elected again, because the damage, some of the damage is already done, and then it's not like we're coming up out. It seemed like it's steadily going further down and further down and further down, and at some point it's going to hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And so what is it going to take? The US dollar is already weaker than the euro and everything, and so what is it going to take for us to be weaker than the Canadian dollar, or be as cheap as Indian rupees before they finally say, okay, we gotta fix this? I'm froze. Okay, I'm not frozen no more. Okay, and then it's just really a jacked up situation, man. And I really hate to see it, because the consequences behind it may outlive me.
It is. I mean, I've even seen some Republican senators have the audacity to say they're ready to come after Social Security. Now, the issue with that is a lot of people who are not educated consider Social Security to be an entitlement. No,
it's not. You pay
into that, and the politicians start blowing the money.
Yeah. And the other thing too that people often aren't. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this so much. I know people talk about small business, but the thing is with small business is that a lot of the small businesses in this country that are likely to go out of business are small businesses that are minority owned, that are Black and brown. And a lot of Black and brown small business owners don't have access to capital. They have not been able to go to a bank and say, give me a loan for 50 grand or 100 grand so I can start a business. They often work for years and years and years until they save up the money that they can start their own business, and then they start it. So when these businesses go out, they're likely not coming back, because those people no longer have the time that they had in the past where they can work for 10 or 15 or 20 years to save that money. And they're still not going to have access to the capital that they would need to get their business back up and running right away. So if they have employees that were out that they had to lay off because of this, those employees are not going to have a job to go back to. That business is gone. So the unemployment rate that may drop a little bit as things open back up, but it's not going to drop from 20% down to 6 or 7%. It may drop down to 17%. It's still going to be high, because there's going to be a lot of people that can't open back up ever again, and their employees are not going to have a place to go back to.
Yeah, man. It's this whole access to capital thing being a minority or anyone who's disenfranchised. It's just the worst. When me and my wife was doing the child care in our nonprofit, I was going to every Greensboro meeting, rubbing elbows with these rich people, trying to, curry favor with them to get nonprofit dollars and all that. And a lot of it, ladies and gentlemen, I just hate to break it down to you. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news. It's a dog and pony show. You usually got to find one person who has the connections. You've got to warm up to that person and hope like hell you have something you can offer them to get yourself within that stream. Yeah. I offered someone to just volunteer with them, come around when they needed help, and that kind of put me into the mainstream of some of the movers and shakers in Greensboro. Sometimes you got to think outside the box to get involved, because all that good gobbledygook they tell you about, oh, you can apply for a grant, and oh, we've got this opportunity and that opportunity. It's a bunch of hogwash. Yeah. They've already got the people picked out that they want to get those opportunities, but of course they want you to apply so they can always tell you American capitalism is not easy, it's hard, but you can't give up.
Right.
Just being there lying through their teeth just make me sick. But anyway,
that's the statistic that I'm really waiting to see, man, because here it is. We're almost midway through May, and us here, we're on lockdown to the end of May, and so we don't know if it's going to we don't know if it's going to extend or not, but it'll be going over, it'll soon be going over another month. And I'm waiting to see what the data or the statistics depict upon those, small businesses. Now, they classify small businesses as, 500
or less, I think.
500 and less. And now, that's total baloney.
Yeah.
The average mom and pop is usually 100 and less. That is just total baloney.
And that's right. You are right. And that's the statistic that I'm waiting to see for those who are like 100, 100 or people, 100 or so less employees, or those these smaller sole proprietorship businesses within the neighborhood with just maybe you and your wife or you and your kids, or, something like that. 5 and 10 people on the payroll and stuff. See, what's the success rate going to be for some of these people coming up out of here? Because those are the mechanisms that actually drive, the community.
Yeah.
I mean, so man, it's a mess.
And see, when I complain about how trickle-down economics don't work in a capitalist system that is as crony as this one, this is a prime example of what I'm talking about. All the money got trickled down through the rich, and now it's supposed to fall down through the poor through basically forcing you to work when your health is going to be at risk. That's trickle-down economics at its worst. It should have somehow or another, it should have started from the bottom, and you can cool believe it would have went up, because the people are going to spend that money. And you can't just keep filtering it from the top, because those people are going to wind up putting it in stocks, put it in vehicles. And if they can't see a way to make money off of what they got, they ain't trickling down nothing. They're not trickling down nothing.
Right.
Somehow or another, you got to starting either from the middle and working your way out, or starting from the bottom and working your way up.
Right. I mean, really what they should have done, and what they still should do, because this curve is not flattened out yet. They're going to have another big spike in another couple of weeks when they open everything back up. They really should pass legislation that just says we're going to give every citizen 16 and over $2,000 a month, and do that if they need to for a few months so they can flatten this thing out. Because as it is right now, when you have people up there in different cities having rent strikes saying we can't pay our rent, so we're not going to pay our rent and we're going to have rent strikes. Well, landlords need to pay bills too. I mean, what if the landlord just simply says, I don't have money to keep the water on anymore. So guess what? You have your rent strike. I don't have any money, so the water's off. I mean, then what? you know, everybody's pissed off. They can be mad thinking their landlords are just rich. Some are. Some of them are just rich assholes like Jared Kushner. Other ones are individuals who happen to try and make a living by owning a building here or there. And so, if they gave everybody,
I'm one of them.
And so, but if they gave everybody the $2,000 a month, like they're doing in some other countries, then people are much more inclined to stay at home, to live their life peacefully, get their food and their drinks and their video games or their movie downloads, and just wait it out. You know, because I mean, you're not going to be rich at $2,000 a month, but for a lot of people, that's enough that they can pay their rent, they can pay their cell phone bill, they can pay whatever other utility food.
You
be
can
okay.
Get it. Mitch McConnell already said no more spending, and what people don't understand is behind that is the rich people have gotten their money.
Right.
You've given the American people table scraps called $1,200. So now they're so hell bent on getting people back to work is because a lot of those people are going to have to go back to work for those rich people that just got money, and they want those people that they're forcing to go back to work to spend the $1,200, all while you're working for the rich people you just gave money to. So for them, going back to work is their anti-poverty scheme. Forget your health. They don't care about your health. For them, they want your ass to go back to work, and they don't give a damn about your health because they done gave you $1,200. That's enough for your health. Get back to work for these rich people we done gave money to. That's what it comes down to. Mitch McConnell done said no more money.
I'll tell you the thing that just bothers me about this is that it seems like the people that are in power now, they just don't, it's like either they just don't read history and understand it, or they understand it and they're just totally ignoring it. But the fact of the matter is that when things get so bad, when conditions get so bad in a country that people don't see that there's a real, they don't see any hope. And they see the rich people up there doing their thing when they don't have the possibility of getting any wealth or money or anything else. What they will simply do is take their shit. That's just the way it happens. Eventually, people will just simply say, all the wealth is here and we are all over here. Let's just go take it. And that's what happens oftentimes. We've seen it happen time and time over and over again throughout all different countries in this world. When people eventually, they just say, we're going to take over because we're tired of being poor. We're tired of being disenfranchised.
Larry, you don't mean in certain situations such as Cody, Exodus, APK apps where folks are so sick that entertainers are making all this money hand over fist, $20 million per movie for some actors, and they just ain't got the money to go to the movie theater with 6 kids. You wouldn't be talking about such services now, would you, Larry?
I don't think it's even just the services. I don't even think it's the actors that most people are upset about making $20 million. I think they're upset oftentimes that the theater company or the studios are up there making $2 billion off of a film, and they still expect them to go pay for something later when they're just, when obviously you can just get it for free on the download. So a lot of people are like, whatever, I'll just download it and watch it for free. But that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm literally talking about people just going and physically taking what they need. And we have seen this throughout time. There have been revolutions throughout various countries throughout history where people simply say, we don't have it and they do. They won't share it, so we'll just take it from them. And if it gets bad enough, we have a pandemic going on. It's not going to take much before someone goes to work and simply says, I just saw my buddy at work die. I'm not going back there. You have that happen enough. We already have a bunch of crazy ass white people in this country with guns looking for a fight. Yeah, they're energies on the Democrats, but it's not going to take long. They look up and they realize we don't give a damn who has it. We don't care who has it, Democrats or Republicans. We're going to go take this shit.
No, they're not going after Trump, bro. Because some of them even know Trump is screwing them in the butt with a hot stick, and they still not going after him.
Not yet. Not yet. Eventually, when if things don't change, eventually they're going to go after whoever they have to go after.
Yeah, people normally fight back when they are when they are pressed against the wall. And it's almost like, you know, it's almost like the person that just can't get right. You know, sometimes people have to hit rock bottom before they actually decide to wake up and say, okay, I'm tired of this, and turn around. So apparently, you know, apparently the people as a mass hadn't reached that point of fed upness. I don't even, that's not a word, but it sounds good. To where
they still have hope.
Yeah, where their back is against the wall, to the point where there's no other choice but to fight back. And honestly, we saw small demonstrations of it from those who followed Malcolm and those who followed the Black Panthers and stuff like that in the past. But right now, you know, if something like that was to happen, you know, you never know. It may take something like that happening. I tell you, if we keep seeing these, you know, these rednecks, you know, rallying up and doing stuff like that, then maybe so. I had to say one of the craziest things, you know, to my wife earlier. You know, when, you know, we was discussing some of the stuff about the young man that was jogging and got killed. And, you know, I never thought that I would either feel this way to say this, but I actually told her, I said, you know what? Some of this stuff is just not going to stop, because this is how our nation is until we start killing them. And not saying that T-Stream's getting ready to go out and start murking folks. Trust me, I'm not going to do it on my own volition. I have to be provoked. My well-being in life has to be threatened, or I have to feel threatened. I'm very scary, so don't scare me. All right. But you know, that's just the way it is, man. For, you know, the whole movement of fighting back, you know, is, you know, it sounds appealing, but there's a lot of threats and dangers surrounded. You know, a lot of people will lose their lives in those circumstances. But, you know, sometimes, you know, sometimes you have to weigh the balance of the lesser evil. Do we die and lose our lives for, you know, just trying to live, or do we die and lose our lives for trying to fight back and make things right? Or, you know, or do we still hold on to hope, which that's what people are holding on to now. Hope that something better after Trump is going to come in and fix this. But it's going to take several years of working. And not only the next president, but likely the one after him or her as well. But I hate to say it, but man, you know, some of us really have to look at like our back is against the wall, and if we're not picking up arms and stuff like that, then we have to learn how to use this. You know, we have to learn how to exercise the rights that we can exercise. One of the biggest problems that we have is voter turnout. And with all the stuff that's going on, with all the stuff that's going on, that's really the last thing that we as a people should really be worrying about. All of us should really be eagered up and fired up to make some type of change. And so once we stop fighting ourselves, and then we learn how to fight without violence, then we could start seeking remedies and resolutions afterwards.
Well, Larry, I'm gonna give you the last word so we can get up out this joint.
I'll tell you, I really wish there was somebody somehow could come together and really make the American people understand that this right left, you know, paradigm is just completely false.
Yes, it is.
this conservative liberal thing is really false, that the ideas that they are pushing towards us on both ends in a lot of ways is really just false narratives, and that the American people have far more in common. The average American has far more in common with each other than we do with the leadership on either side. You know, these are rich people often on either sides that have enormous amounts of power, and us as individual citizens have far more in common. And if we were able to get together and say, we want to do what is right for us, we want our leadership to represent what is right for us, we could actually have a country that worked for us. And that's one of those things I think that so many people excited about Bernie Sanders. He was talking about doing something like that. But we're looking at now, you know, someone, I mean, not to say anything bad about Joe Biden. I'm hoping he wins. I'm going to vote for him. But really, we're looking at sort of going back to a status quo where things are just more cordial, where people aren't so openly hostile and there's not a display of just blatant evil and disrespect for the rule of law and institutions. And I don't want that. I want something more. I want our country to go forward. I don't want just
you want radical change. You want radical change for the better. Right. T Strings, give us your last line. Good one, Larry.
Yeah, and it's sad because when you look at it, things tend to be on extreme polar opposites. So it's either to the extreme left or to the extreme right. So that there has to be some type of middle ground. But closing out, the best thing we can do. The best thing we can do as a people is to make sure, that everyone that we have influence over, anyone that we can talk to, that everyone plays their part in the voting process, because that's where it starts.
Right.
And they say, they say you're capable of influencing, at least 7 people. So if you can just reach out and just, help everyone play their part, because it's bad enough right now we're going to be faced against some possible inconsistencies with the whole situation around the voting. We see them cooking up the brew right now for it. So we don't know exactly what the end game going to look like come November. But I'm sure if they keep, they keep alluding to it, something they're going to try something. Some states are trying to look out for the people and provide, and you got the feds trying to, led by the head crook in charge, and so just everybody just play your part, because we can't complain. We can't complain about shit if we don't get out and do our part. So
right.
So we all know that one person or that group of people that say, well, my vote don't matter no way. Well, this is that time where we try to reach out to them, and then afterward, we'll see where we come up with. It's a fight.
You know what? And to co-sign what T-Stream said, there's a lot of brothers out there that can't vote. They've been caught up in our justice system and they can't vote. But that does not mean that you can't influence others to vote. So even if you're out there and you say, I can't vote, you go out there and you find your younger or your older brother or sister or your uncle or cousin or your grandmother, and you tell them, vote for me. I can't vote anymore. I may have messed up in the past and I can't vote, but you encourage them to vote for you. Just because you can't pull that ballot box, you can't put your check or you can't pull that lever, doesn't mean that you can't encourage them to go out there and do it on your behalf.
Yeah. Right. And to co-sign on what they both were saying about, we all know someone who says they're not going to vote because it doesn't matter or it doesn't reach. Make them vote as best you can. Also encourage those individuals who co-sign the hoodisms, like this stuff right here I just heard. Somebody is saying spewing in the black community that the lockdowns are not working and calling people illiterate, you know what, because they think that the lockdowns have been helping to bend the curve. Folks, when you hear this hood BS, you got to call it out, and you've got to try to tell them, where are you getting your information from? Is it a legitimate source? And you got to be able to state legitimate places for them to get information. When I saw that this person that's sitting up here had the nerve to say that the lockdowns are not working, it made me so mad I wanted to go punch him in the face, because I don't know where the hell he got his critical thinking skills from. He must have went to the same school Trump got his advanced degree from, if you really think that these lockdowns are not working. So people, as much as you're going to be crusaders for getting people to vote, also be crusaders for getting people to get their information from legitimate sources and think more rational. And that's going to do it for this video. Don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe to Larry. Check out my man T Streams. Download the podcast. And until that next sexy as hell video, we'll see you Wednesday.
Peace.